for the last 400 years. Well, the Gabacho has been in the Southwest for over 100 years, and we have been facing a war of extermination for that time. Right now, there is a war in the streets, a war in the hills of northern New Mexico. And right here today is one of the men that are carrying on that war against the Gabacho, because he is doing us all in. And he will do us all in if we don't fight him. So we have got to fight him! And we have got to fight! Anselmo Tijerina.
In New Mexico during the 60s, the Alianza, under the leadership of Reyes Lopez Tijerina, was very active. It came to a climax, all the activities, the central issue, the central question, the central historical problem was, of course, the land grants. Anytime we study New Mexico, particularly north central New Mexico, where there are community land grants, that is a basic, fundamental. We can't even know who we are unless we understand the process of that, how it came about. It's central. And so many people in New Mexico, and in fact throughout the world, began to connect and relate and link with that movement under Reyes Lopez Tijerina, who was a very powerful speaker, a very powerful leader. He's donating his papers now to the Center for Southwest Research. In fact, this coming week on Tuesday, there's going to be a ceremony where he's donating his diaries. Very important time in our history.
This is the fire of the volcano, which is in the northern part of New Mexico. And as much as the devil, as much as the enemy, as much as the oppressor would like to have the world believe that I'm a king tiger, that I'm a militant, that I'm a violent man, he is mistaken. For I am as violent as Jesus Christ.
Managing Editor Hal Rhodes.
Hello. This compound is home to Reyes Lopez Tijerina, the volatile land-grant leader who throughout the 1960s and early 1970s made himself a national figure in a smoldering historic controversy over the proprietorship of lands throughout much of the American Southwest. The Tijerina story is one of many chapters. He was born near the South Texas village of Falls City in 1926, one of 10 children of sharecropping parents. From the beginning, religion played an important role in his life. For a period of time, beginning in 1944, he was a student at the Assembly of God Bible School in Isleta, Texas. Eventually, he was granted a license as a minister of that denomination, a license subsequently revoked for what church leaders described as Tijerina's unorthodox views. Nevertheless, in the ensuing years, Tijerina continued his unorthodox ministry throughout the Southwest as an itinerant, non-denominational preacher. But the public Tijerina, the Tijerina of national notoriety, found prominence for the first time in the fall of 1966 as the leader of an organization calling itself the Federal Alliance of Land Grants, the Alianza. October 1966, 350 Alianza members with Tijerina at the head took armed possession of a national forest campground in northern New Mexico known as Echo Amphitheater. By this action, Tijerina proclaimed the revival of a 19th century land grant community, San Joaquin del Rio de Chama. The siege ended as law enforcement officials disbanded the gathering. June 1967, the following summer, the famous raid on the Rio Arriba County Courthouse in Tierra Amarilla. 5 days later, Tijerina was arrested. January 1970, El Tigre, the Tiger, as Tijerina had come to be known by his followers, began a 2.5-year stint in federal corrections facilities. This on convictions stemming from the Echo Amphitheater siege and other federal charges. Subsequently, he spent 6 months in the New Mexico State Prison as a consequence of the Tierra Amarilla raid. Today, nearly a decade later, his Alianza divided into what has been described as warring factions. Tijerina thinks of himself not as a political but as a spiritual leader to those whose cause he continues to champion. And his pursuit of what he considers to be justice for the heirs and descendants of the historic land grants remains a prevailing preoccupation. The eyes of the tiger still have fire. Reyes, it's nice of you to visit with us this morning.
My pleasure.
Tell me the story about that bulletproof door. What's that doing there?
Well, this is a security reason to help the family, to keep the family happy.
Do you still?
They're used to sleeping under bulletproof doors and windows in Albuquerque, so here I had to do the same.
Do you still worry about security?
Well, we have, yes, very much, very much.
Listen, just over that first set of mountains to the top of the high mountains over there, we start picking up Forest Service land that just encircles this whole area. But you contend the Forest Service holds that land under false title. Can you explain that?
Yes, first I'd like to state that I am a United States citizen, but I have never been treated, nor my people, as citizens of the United States. For 300 years, my ancestors settled Texas, New Mexico, and California. Our roots, the pillars of our culture are here, the towns. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which gave United States sovereignty over this area, guarantees the protection, recognition of our property. Our property has never, as towns, have never been recognized. Only Indian towns have been recognized in New Mexico, but not one single Spanish-built town or Mexican-built town has been recognized. As long as the towns are not recognized, we don't feel that we have been recognized as citizens. We have the titles, perfect titles, to satisfy any law, any tribunal, any normal judge. But our titles have never reached one single United States tribunal here in New Mexico.
I want to talk about that in a minute. Your analysis is predicated upon an interpretation of the historic Spanish land grants. What I've always wanted to ask you, what is your response to those who argue that the King of Spain had no right to grant lands to Spanish settlers, lands which were not his in the first place, but were his only by conquest?
Well, nations abide by international law. Christian sovereignty in Europe established the boundaries, the nations, the empires, through the Pope. At that time, England was part of the Pope. England had its cardinal and voted for the Pope. Islam, the Islamic religion, confronted the Christian religion for centuries and centuries. That political attitude of Europe established the boundaries and international law. Under that law, accepted by England up to 1532, when England renegated and broke away from the Christian sovereignty of Europe. Under that law, Christopher Columbus, a Christian Israelite himself, came here. And the best of authority at that time built the titles to this continent, the best. Now we hear about adverse possession. Now that really is nonsense. But at that time, it was the best there was. So we can't go back and say, well, the Pope didn't have, because you would have to say it to England. Because the Pope was simply elected like Reagan is elected by all the people. The Pope was the expression and the election and the voting of all the Christian kingdoms. So we cannot overrule those laws. Otherwise, we would really end up in confusion and nonsense.
All right. Well, what about that same argument going on into the present? What about the argument that since you can't go back and rewrite history, how now can we go back and rewrite history in order to satisfy your claims upon the land?
What we're saying is legitimate. The Jews are trying to tell the world to rewrite the history in Palestine. And the United States is supporting our brothers, the Jews, against many odds, surrounded by atomic bombs. We might even face the nuclear holocaust to support the old claim of the Jews. In this case of San Joaquin, we have not forsaken our lands. We are still living here. We have a perfect title. We not only have the Bible to claim it as title to this land, but we have the people living inside of the area of San Joaquin, 500,000 acres. We have the Constitution of the United States to protect us, but we have never been protected. We have the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which is part of the international law, but it has been treated as an enemy or as a threat to the United States. The town of San Joaquin is a living political subdivision. I am now the alcalde, the mayor of this town. I was elected. Now, this town has never been dissolved. It takes an act of Congress. It takes voting of the people to dissolve a town. Once it's established, you can't dissolve it, except the people themselves. Well, there's over 100 towns in New Mexico, including Albuquerque. Albuquerque was 140 years old when the Anglos and Jews moved into Albuquerque and built their pirate Albuquerque in 1885, 140 years later. There's your example. But San Joaquin has never been substituted by any other town. There's nothing but Christian Israelites living here, so-called Spanish and Mexicans and Chicanos and Latinos, but we are Christian Israelites by blood, not by religion.
All right, I know today you describe yourself as an Israelite. I suspect a lot of people, when they first hear that, are somewhat surprised. I mean, that's not normally the language that is used to describe your cause.
Of course.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I have dedicated 26 years of my life to the roots of our property rights. That led me to the roots of our lineage, of our blood. Then I consulted the rabbis, the Jews here and in Mexico. And I began to research into the roots, not the legal roots of property, but the legal roots of our blood. And with the help of Jews and rabbis, I uncovered the fact that all the Martinez, Garcia, Valdezes, Tijerina, Fernandez, all these Spanish surnames are Israelites, direct descendants of Israelite families. So we are Israelite not by religion like the Jews who are Jews by religion. We are Israelites by blood, not by religion. There's a great big difference. And at this time, we are very much concerned with Jews engulfing the world in problems under the name of our forefathers. Israelites, because there's 3,726 years, the house of Judah and the house of Israel have been separated completely. The Jews have never mentioned as a political name Israel until 1948. Before that, it was Judah. Judah is whether nation, because the Jews have changed 5 times. 5 historical changes from one individual named Judah to the tribe of Judah, to the kingdom of Judah, to the nation of the Jews, and now the religion of the Jews.
And in effect, you're saying the Jews have misappropriated the title, the name Israelite to their political cause because it is a blood issue.
Of course, because Israel is blood. Jacob was Israel, and he gave legal rights to Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh to use the name Israel. And it was agreed upon, and the kingdom of the north, of the south, which was the kingdom of Judah, always recognized. Even in the census of Israel was separated from the census of Judah. And we are concerned because under the name of Israel, which the prophets, 4 major prophets are said in the Bible, that in the last days, the house of Judah and the house of Israel are coming together. That's my dream. We will, but we need our brothers who are divided in 4 groups: Orthodox Jews, Reformed Jews, Zionists, and agnostics. It's hard to talk to them because you don't know to whom are you talking. But we are hoping and dreaming that we merge.
Are you saying, in effect, that the problems that you perceive in the world today, especially as affects your people,
it's a family fight?
Is a family fight.
It was a family fight in Spain. See, God gave us Palestine. We outlive it and outgrew it, and then he gave us Spain. We outgrew it, and then he gave us America, the twin continent called Holy Land by Christopher Columbus. He gave this, Columbus gave this land the name Land of Grace and Holy Land, because his dream was to use America to save Jerusalem. His dream of Christopher Columbus was to rescue the Holy Sepulchre of Jesus Christ. No, it is, you cannot separate our lands, our property rights from our blood and our lineage. And as much as I hate to say it, our Jewish brothers are very deeply involved in our property problems here in New Mexico.
Well, that's a heck of a family fight.
Oh, yes. We've been fighting our brother for 3,726 years, ever since Joseph.
You think the family will ever get back together?
Yes, it's written, and the nuclear age, the nuclear pressure is bringing us back together, because at this moment, the Jews are building their last Masada, as much as I hate to say it that way, because a Masada is a Holocaust, and it's going to come. But whatever is left in Palestine is going to merge with us. And we, like Joseph in Egypt, he was sold by Judah, his brother, and Dan, the father of the Anglos. And later, Joseph in Egypt saved the world. And I have a feeling that the so-called Mexican Americans, Latin Americans, Spanish-speaking people, Spain, who are the true blood Israelites, will intervene, will save our own brothers, the Jews.
All right, so let's assume you're right. Let's carry this on out. Assume this family fight that you, as you describe it, amongst the Israelites,
a family fight, right,
is once and for all resolved. Does that necessarily mean that the real fight would be between the Israelites and what you call the Anglos?
I don't know. The Anglos, according to many historians and experts in blood and lineages, say that they come from Dan. From the tribe of Dan, the Anglos. I understand. But in Apocalypse, the last book, the tribe Dan does not appear anymore. So I cannot tell you what's going to happen.
So you do not necessarily feel there is an inevitable contest, clash between what you call the Israelites and the Anglos?
No. Because the Anglos eventually will settle for England, eventually. See, they're ruling here because of England. England, according to the Bible, as we see it, is the last beast, the last power. The last beast? Yes, the last beast of chapter 13 of Apocalypse. And the devil, Satan, has to use the biggest race, the biggest people who are in command, to put that race in command to rule as he wishes. And as you know, I don't have to explain the British Empire, how it developed. But then the United States is the image of England. The image in the Bible, the image in the language, the image in race, because the ruling race here is Anglo. And the Bible speaks about the blessed beast and the image. But that's not here nor there. I think the whole thing, according to the prophets, 4 major prophets, is between the Jews and the Israelites. We are going to merge. Ezekiel 37 explains how we are living like dry bones right now, the Spanish-speaking people, dry bones, with no name, no spirit, no nothing. But all of a sudden, we will be given a new name, our own name. And the Jews will recognize that Israel is not their name, much less, especially when they admitted with this question in their constitution, who is a Jew? he who is born of a Jewish mother or he who accepts the Jewish religion. But we are Israelites not by religion, but by blood.
All right, let's bring it back home here a little bit and to the land grant struggle more generally. You lay claim to the title of alcalde, the mayor of the town.
I was elected, yes.
There's actually, I suppose everybody knows, some debate as to whether or not, under state law, San Joaquin is a recognized municipality. That's not a municipality, but that's not really the point. What I want to know is, of all the land grants and your vast interest in land grants, how came it to be that Reyes Lopez Tijerina found San Joaquin to be his home? His focus, I guess.
Well, I have to say it whether people or the public believes it or not, because it's in my books, in my records, in my family, in my friends. I had a vision. God spoke to me through 3 angels. And they brought me here. That's God's truth.
So you are involved, you're engaged in effect in a divine mission.
It's absolutely divine mission, yes. That's why all the bombs that the FBI and the state police have exploded in my home to destroy and scare my family, they have not succeeded. The 30 years in imprisonment that they gave me to quiet me down hasn't stopped me. The raping of my wife, my son, 13 years old son, by police who pleaded guilty, has not, dampened my face and my feelings. And these steel doors, we get telephone calls, not every day, but every month, every week, telling me to move out of this volcano, out of this area, because they know that this is a troubled area. And I've been getting the people here together in the towns. That's why the organization is called Alianza de Pueblos, Alliance of Towns, because every one of these towns has a royal charter, a political subdivision. It's a political entity. But a town has power, and that's why our brothers don't want us to have power.
So San Joaquin is the beginning of a larger divine mission.
Well,
would that be a fair way to put it?
Yes, but I have always been speaking for all the land grants, 1,715 land grants.
Reyes, I'm curious about something. There have been press reports, you are quite familiar with those press reports, that it is your intention to see these lands in controversy eventually seceded from the United States. Your version.
My version, now that I have all the secret FBI files on my activities, 5,500 pages, I have learned that I was right. This rumor started by the FBI. They wanted to get the public against me. They wanted to isolate me from the public opinion. And the news media contributed a lot to paint a bad picture, using even Senator Montoya, who, by the way, died in June 5th, the Tierra Maria date. And that's untrue, totally untrue. That's why I said I am a citizen of the United States, but have never been treated as a citizen, because the pillars of our culture, our towns, have never been part of the United States. In other words, they have never been recognized.
So you just categorically deny any interest whatsoever in seeing these lands separated from the United States, but only made to be a part of the United States in the proprietorship of the heirs and descendants of the Spanish land grant settlers.
I'm hoping to see these towns like the Palestinian towns at this time in Palestine, flourishing with the alcalde, with a local authority, being really part of the United States. Our children go to war every time there's a war for the United States, and they die, but their property, their towns are not recognized. We're not asking for something illegal, something unjust. The United States cannot pride itself in being the leader of the free world as long as these towns are treated as if they didn't exist.
All right. How do you get them back? You have described yourself no longer as a political leader, but as a spiritual leader in this cause. So by what mechanism do you see these towns being returned to the heirs and descendants of the land grant settlers?
Well, I believe like the Orthodox Jewish Orthodox, They believe that the Holy Land is coming to their people, but we don't have to use atomic bomb and violence and destroy the Palestinians and others to fulfill the prophecy. See, that's the way I believe. I believe, like the Orthodox Jews, that God will settle this problem. But we have to record our intentions, our aspirations, our claims, just like the law stipulates that if you don't claim your right for 10 years, then you forfeit your rights, you waive your rights, and somebody else can claim it through adverse possession. Well, no, I don't want anybody saying that the people of San Joaquin, they've ceased to function. I heard one judge saying, well, we cannot recognize that town because they're not functioning as a political body. Of course not, because they stripped the town of its 500,000 acres of land, which was the source of revenue to administrate and function as a town. They turned that common lands of the town.
How do you turn that around? How do you turn that?
We keep on and writing letters and claiming and demanding and fighting. And at this time, we have here one of these big pines that we caught as a symbol of expression that we feel that San Joaquin is already liberated. We can cut timber, green timber, lumber. We can graze our cattle, and the Rangers, United States Rangers, no longer bother us. At least me personally and the close associates of the town of San Joaquin, they are not bothered by the U.S. Forest Service. I think they're sticking to the political policy letter that William Hearst wrote in 1967 and then 1972. After the raid of Tierra Maria, he wrote that the northern part of New Mexico, that is forest land, should be treated different than any other part of the United States, forest land in the United States.
I wanted to ask you about that. There was, the other day you and I were visiting, and you mentioned that you and some of your associates in the government of the town of San Joaquin were in the business of purchasing a sawmill. From whence where will you get the lumber to feed
from the area of San Joaquin?
All right. Will you have to get permits from the Forest Service to do that?
No. The town of San Joaquin is issuing the permits.
All right. So what if the Forest Service says those permits are not recognized?
Well, if they bar us, they're recording what we contend, that they are applying terror, intimidation, trespassing, all illegal tactics to intimidate our people here.
Let me ask you this then. Is it possible that you as mayor of San Joaquin and your associates in the government of San Joaquin could be once again on a collision course with the federal government over these lands?
No, I don't think so.
They think they're going to turn
They don't want it because they've been bombarding my home and terrorizing my family. They don't want my case in court because my children right now are having homebound education because of the government terror. They don't want.
So you think they'll look the other way?
Oh yes, I think, and we're also trying to find $1 million to take our title to the court.
Where are you going to get that $1 million?
Well, we're hoping that someday one of our Israelite brothers or Jewish brothers will come through and make San Joaquin as an example of true justice, true real justice in the tribunals of the United States. Because as of now, not one property title of our towns have reached a United States tribunal, local tribunal. Never.
And they can't until you have money. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, because money, then we would, if they throw us out of court on the low level, we would appeal that. And I think on appeal, we can win through Amendment 9. Amendment 9 of the Constitution of the United States has never been used. Never has been used by any judge or lawyer. And that Amendment 9 of the Constitution of the United States includes other rights retained by the people.
There's a question I've always wanted to put to you. Assume everything you want to come to pass should come to pass, that all of the lands in contention under the land grants should someday be returned to those whom you claim are its rightful owners, the descendants and the heirs of the original settlers. What would that do? What would that do to the fabric of American social, economic, political life? Wouldn't it be like taking a loose thread and a yarn in a sweater? Wouldn't it leave the body naked in time?
To the contrary, it would consolidate, unify the citizenship of the United States. Any Jew, any Anglo, any black could come and be part of the town because the towns are political bodies. They could come in. It would consolidate. It would fortify the old spirit of unity, of real Americanism.
Well, there's still spirit. There's in Reyes Lopez Tijerina. There's still fire in the eyes of the tiger. I appreciate this conversation enormously. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Hal Rhodes. See you later.
Año del 67, 5 de junio fue el día, hubo una revolución, allá por Tierra María, allá en la casa de Cortés, pueblo de Tierra María, Nuevo México el estado, condado de Río Arriba, un grupo de nuestra raza